Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. As part of a big news today, we'll be discussing a very important phrase which India has used this week. Therefore, we will try to understand what are the implications of phase down all fossil fuel. Before we do that, as always, we're available on Telegram, so do download the app via the QR code given here or the link in the description below. With this, we can enter the most important discussion we need to have today, which is this phrase called phase down all fossil fuels. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the topic itself, we need to understand the basic concept. The basic concept is that India has used this phrase at COP-27, which is happening in Egypt right now, and the phrase itself has a lot of baggage, which is that India has argued that why are we only talking about phasing out or phasing down coal and not other fossil fuels. So what India is trying to do is trying to expand meaning of the word fossil fuel itself. Why is that we only say that coal is a bad fossil fuel and nothing else? Therefore, this is an attempt of India to come out of the hole which it is in, which is with regards to coal usage for electricity generation, and more than that, it is trying to push other countries into this hole in saying that China, UAE, the Saudi Arabia, all these countries also should be under the same type of scrutiny with regards to fossil fuel consumption, because why is that their fossil fuel is good, our fossil fuel is bad? So India uses a lot of coal to generate its electricity, and if only coal has to be phased out or down, basically India is at a disadvantage. So the context is quite interesting. So phase down of all fossil fuels is the phrase which India has used, and there's a lot of debate with regards to what is going to happen in the conference of parties and with regards to expanding the concept of the Paris climate change agreement itself. So at the Glasgow Climate Pact, which is COP26 last year, there was a pledge which was taken. The pledge which was taken was we will phase down unabated coal power. Unabated means without weakening it. We will phase down on coal power. Now this is a word which was used after India, China and US pressurized to change it from phased out to phased down. So it's about phasing down, decreasing the number of reliance on the coal itself. But what India is arguing this year is that why is that we only have to be at the disadvantage? All fossil fuels are important, all fossil fuels are the same, so why only phasing out coal power? So India is leading a push in Egypt to conclude with a decision on phasing down all fossil fuels. As it is, India is saying that to meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement, it requires that we actually phase down all fossil fuels, but the implications and repercussions are quite important. India, as of right now, is trying to expand the meaning of fossil fuel. It is saying all fossil fuel is bad, not just coal, and therefore it puts it at odds with other countries within its like-minded nations, because now China, UAE, the Saudi Arabia, the whole Gulf sector comes under questioning that why is that their energy resources are not being questioned, why is that India's energy resources being questioned. So what is the implication of this? So what India is doing is India is quoting the IPCC report saying, which was just published after Glasgow. Glasgow was the last venue of the COP26, and they are saying that it is only when we phase out and phase down all fossil fuels, then only we meet our target. So why is that we are only concentrating on coal? So the push stems largely from coal dependent countries' desire not to be singled out for its use of dirty fossil fuel, India being one of them, because India generates 3/4 of its electricity for burning coal. So what India is trying to do is it's trying to push and put oil and gas consumers and producers in the spotlight, where only everybody who is consuming coal is under the spotlight. So it's a very strategic move by India, because at the end of the day, with regards to China, UAE, other countries, we are at a disadvantage, because at the end of the day, we produce our energy through coal. So what India is saying is, it's very simple concept, that if it's about fossil fuels, why is it that fossil fuel only means coal? Expand the meaning of fossil fuel to include every country. Why is that we have to phase down our production? We have to move to much expensive renewables, and they can still use their natural gas and oil and have no implication whatsoever. So it's a very interesting phase in climate history itself, because now India is doubling down on countries by saying that you can't be talking about good and bad fossil fuel. And this is what The quote is, natural gas and oil also leads to emission of greenhouse gases. Making only one fuel the villain is not right. And it's a very important quote. You can use it in the mains examination, which is that at the end of the day, fossil fuel is fossil fuel. So we don't know where this is going to conclude, but the basic point of the matter is India is now pushing for another concept that if we are talking about fossil fuels, it needs to be all fossil fuels. So this puts India at odds with the like-minded groups of developing countries, that is China, Saudi Arabia, and other developing countries in the South Asian sector. But out of China and Saudi Arabia, India is the only one which is relying too much on coal. So this is a groundbreaking development in climate history and in environmental history. So before ending this session, let's try to consolidate everything, which is that in Glasgow, there was a concept that let's phase out coal, but we changed it to phase down coal. But in India realized that why is that we are only being singled out. So this time India, without actually pointing to any country, is trying to argue that why are we only talking about coal as a fossil fuel? Fossil fuel means every different form of hydrocarbon. So why aren't we talking about natural gas? Why aren't we talking about coal? So India is trying to expand the meaning and therefore create the context for bringing these countries also under the spotlight. India would be at a disadvantage because India uses too much coal. Therefore, why not bring all these countries together? So it's both an important development and both an important phrase for your examination, because they can give a question in the mains examination thereby saying that what does phasing out mean, or what does phasing out of all fossil fuel means, what is the implications of it. The implication is that India is trying to expand the horizon of the climate change agreements itself and argue that it is not just India which should be at a disadvantage but other countries also, and we have a common but differential responsibility. Therefore the differential responsibility which should be with regards to different fossil fuels itself. So I hope that you understand this very important phrase. We'll be back with what happened in the COP-27, what is the pledge which is taken, but Glasgow's pledge is something which impacts India. So we are trying to push further forward, and we have scientific basis for that. The IPCC report is an important source for that. So with this, I would like to end the session. Thank you so much. I hope that you understand this phrase and the importance of the phrase itself. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.